Have you made the decision to go full-time RVing? Get all excited, think about how you're going to do it, and then go tell your family that are not going to full-time RV with you and watch their faces wonder what is wrong with you. At least that's the most common response. We're going to talk about all of that next on the RV Shenanigans podcast. Welcome back to the RV Shenanigans podcast. My name is Ryan.
I'm Lauren, and together we are Miller's in Motion. We have been bringing you our RV and travel shenanigans since 2022.
And shenanigans they have been. So, and we thought this was just an interesting topic to chat about because we were kind of talking about when we made the decision to say, tell our families essentially, because we made the decision to go full-time before we told our families, obviously.
Right.
Because that's a whole mixed bag of emotions.
It sure was, and I don't think we anticipated the responses that we got.
Your and we're going to go into more detail in a minute, but your family, it was pretty close to what I thought it was going to be. Mine was also pretty close. They were just they came out differently than I expected, but as far as where they landed, that part wasn't necessarily shocking.
Right.
It was more some of the questions that were asked and the looks we got.
Sure.
Which is perfectly fine. But before we dive all the way into that topic, we want to give you a little bit of insight to why we chose to full-time RV.
Yes, so for those of you who don't know, we did have a ranch, horses, the house, the pool, the whole 9 yards. And we were there for about 10 years and kind of realized we just weren't getting out doing the things, seeing the things, meeting the people. We were spending so much time and money just dedicated there. And after that much time had elapsed in our lives, we weren't enjoying it the way that we thought we should be.
We were working a lot
to not experience new things.
Right. And we found ourselves on weekends fixing things that broke that we couldn't get to during the week. And then by the time it was all said and done, if we happened to be able to go have a meal either together or with family, that was a small miracle.
It kind of was. So we just weren't growing, enjoying that sort of thing.
And so enter the thought process of, we like everybody else that got into this lifestyle, at least I think, got on YouTube and a KYD, a Less Junk More Journey, a Phil and Stacy, Today is Someday, came across our Changing Lanes, came across our YouTube channel when we were looking for different RV, and they're like, there's people living in these things?
Yeah, we didn't even know that was a thing.
No, and so that seed sat there for a year or two?
Yeah, and we were like, wow, what if everything was less? What if there was less work to do, less fixing constantly?
We started talking about, I'm going to use Less Junk More Journey slang, and we literally we're surrounded by stuff that we barely use in some scenarios,
and just fixed,
and just need to be fixed, about to be fixed, or just got fixed. A pool that we literally hadn't swam in but once all summer. Now, when we first had it, we used it like every other day.
Yeah.
But it's slowly, I'm realizing I'm spending thousands of dollars a year maintaining this thing and time and effort. And we literally used it once. And so, we looked at each other and we're like, maybe there's something more. And that kind of planted that seed. And then from there it grew.
Right.
Now, before we dive too far into that side of it, I think it's important to understand if you're thinking about making this decision, because there's going to be there's two people that are going to listen to this. People thinking about doing it, the people that done did it. The people that done did it understand.
And there's a third camp, those wondering if we made a mistake and they just got to know.
So in other words, that I call it the casual NASCAR fan. They're just watching for the train wreck. Okay.
Yeah.
So for the people that are thinking about doing it, we want to give you a little bit more context, not just for selling it, but our experience with RVs and or camping prior to that. So I'm going to let you start. And so growing up prior to essentially me, even with me for sections of that, what's your experience with camping and or RVing?
RVing, none. Zip, zilch. I don't even know that I had honestly really been in an RV until I was in my 30s. We did some camping. My dad was with the Boy Scouts and things like that. And my brother was too. So there were some camping trips, but they were very rustic. We're going to leave it at that. They were very rustic.
Well, your dad was also a scoutmaster?
I don't know that he was a master. He was a leader of some sort.
Yeah,
I was
scout
too
leader,
young to
master.
understand what the title was.
He organized things for Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts,
Right.
all of that stuff. He was very well versed with camping.
He was. And as a whole, my family did not travel much. And so the camping trips were kind of somewhat of a vacation.
Yeah, it was like mini vacations around the bigger vacations because
Right.
you guys, because you didn't travel much, you took little like local things
Yeah.
more frequently so that you could have little mini breaks.
Right. And mostly road trips if they were going to be.
Right. And then you flip it around to my family, who's the polar opposite of anything camping. I can tell you the only camping I did growing up was my time in the Boy Scouts. That was it. My dad went on one of them.
I can't imagine that.
He didn't make it through the first night.
Okay. There you go.
I did, and then it got too cold. It started to drop below freezing, and then the people running it were like, "Yeah, we got to go." Sorry. So literally, and I did a couple other camping trips with them. There was always some sort of like a natural thing that caused it to end early. We have our own. Don't get me wrong.
God was like, no, you go. Don't do this.
But my family, so we did vacation quite a bit, and I said
did.
that we traveled. Full disclosure, my dad was an executive with American Airlines, so it was way easier and for us to travel.
Right. You guys flew a lot.
We flew a lot. We didn't take a lot of road trips, which for me made the RV thing super appealing because while I was lucky enough to see a lot of these destinations, I missed the flyover states, if you may. So like I didn't see the middle of the country,
Right.
with the exception of the Midwest because my family is originally from Wisconsin. And so we went up there for summers. And so I saw a lot of that. But outside of that, like we went to Disney, we went to California to like LA or Disneyland. We went to Vancouver. We went to Salt Lake City. I mean, we've been to all of these different destinations, but nothing in between.
Right.
And then, we meet and just like any other couple that's been married for, what are we, 15 years now?
Oh, sad day.
What?
16.
16. I was close. But together for almost 20.
Yes.
And so, when we first met, this isn't the things you think about when you're in college dating.
No. Mm-mm.
You're just trying to make it to the next day.
That's all. Yes. Where are we having dinner tonight? What are we going to eat?
Right? Which flavor ramen, beef or chicken? And so, that's not something that we thought about. And
Right.
then we moved apartments so many times for school and jobs and other things. In our first, what did we say in our first 10 years?
And we moved 9 times in 8 years.
In 8 years. And so we were very much so done with the moving around.
Yeah.
Which moving apartments, lugging furniture up and down 3 flights of stairs is very different.
That's right, because the 3rd floor apartment is the cheapest.
Heck yeah, it is. Plus, there's nobody above you to annoy you, which was my thing. And so, we didn't necessarily camp. We did camp together a little bit with your family.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Prior to thinking about doing full-time RV life.
Yes, and I'm going to say that was a little bit. Mm-hmm. You want to tell them
a
why?
little bit?
Why we didn't camp a lot of bit?
Hang on. We went on many camping trips, and most of them were perfectly fine.
Yeah, we went on a few. Mm-hmm.
And so, but the last one we went on, and I say the last one we went on where we legitimately stayed in a tent and all those things. We had it was a Thanksgiving
Yeah.
ish. Like we did something around Thanksgiving, just trying to change it up. Right. So we literally took a turkey fryer. We took the whole 9 yards out there with us. And the first night or two was fine. But that last night, whenever we would plan like local camping trips, of course you check the weather and you try to plan according to the season and this and that. So we took all those things into account. Again, we had done this a couple of times, so we had some knowledge of it. it's important to note too, we had 2 dogs with us at the time, Maverick and Goose.
2 big
You're
dogs.
right. Maverick and Goose. I said those out loud.
That was intentional. So anyways, yes, we're there. The weather kind of took a turn and the days were a little bit more damp than we had thought that they might be.
It rained. Well, it wouldn't necessarily rain all day. It was a little
Right.
cooler.
It was cooler. Mhm.
And it was on and off intermittent rain, but nothing enough to cancel the trip.
Exactly.
Until the last night.
Until overnight when it's dark and you can't see anything.
So at the time we had a extended cab F-150, like with the suicide door that opens the opposite way, 2 big dogs, and all of our camping gear on the ground / the bed at this point. And somewhere, I don't remember what time it was, late. It was either very late or very early, one of the two. One of us woke up. I don't remember what it was to.
It rained and it rained hard.
It did. And I remember when I woke up from that night, it was like, why am I wet?
Yes.
So our tent had failed. And our tent had seen better days.
Yeah, but it wasn't expected to fail. It wasn't
No.
like one of those. No.
Well, they're not expected to fail until they do.
Until they do.
And
Yes.
ours did. So it had a couple of holes in it.
Apparently.
The wind was making bigger as we went. And it became I mean, it's literally, we're talking midnight, 1, 2 a.m., somewhere in that range. It's not like you're going to, where's a hotel? I mean, it's what stuff do we need to protect? And keep in mind, we could have cared less about most things.
Yeah.
But like we had our phones in there, like electronics, that kind of thing. Not a lot of it, but there was a little bit of it.
Yeah.
So we threw the stuff we needed to in the truck.
Well, because there was a river in the tent.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you told them that you were wet, but you didn't tell them why you were wet.
So we definitely were as close to glamping. I don't consider RVing camping. You can go camping in an RV, but you're still RVing. Glamping to me is what we did with that tent.
True.
We had an air mattress that was literally like 12 inches thick.
Oh, it was nice. It was cushy.
Yeah, and it was great. And I don't. My back is really bad. It has been for a long time because of golf, and so that was almost a requirement so that I could actually get some sleep. Because everything was soaked inside. If it was already soaked, like our bag of clothes, it is what it is.
Right.
Just leave it. We'll wash it later. We literally got the dogs, who are now soaked as well, threw them in the back seat of the car, and then proceeded to attempt to go to sleep.
Go back to sleep. That's right. The two of us, the two wet, damp, stinky dogs. Yeah. And you can't really turn the truck on because there's other campers also right there. So you just
and it's raining, so you can't open the windows.
Can't really open the windows. So we just created a stinky sauna.
It's a hot, stinky mess.
It was the definition of a hot, stinky mess.
And at that moment, I remember we woke up. I never really went back to sleep. I kind of dozed in and out a couple of times, I think is the best that happened. But I remember sitting there the next morning, and we had told everybody, like, we're done. I think we had one more night left, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And I flat out was like, nope. No. Like, we'll hang out for a little bit this morning. We got to go through our carnage over here. The tent didn't even come back with us. It immediately went to the trash can.
Yeah.
And then obviously like clothes and that kind of thing, they stayed in their bags. They just rode in the bed of the truck instead of inside the truck. But we told everybody we're out. So I think we had breakfast with everybody, hit the Dairy Queen on the way out because this was down in Whitney, Texas, where there's nothing. And then we headed back home.
With no further intentions of camping.
Right. I remember at some point, either that morning or that later that evening when we got back and cleaned up and dried off and everything kind of resituated, I was like, I'm not doing that anymore.
Right. And some of you may be saying, okay, you had one bad experience. Like, are you really giving it up?
Yep.
But the thing is, yes, if you're going to plan that and prepare for that and spend the time and money on that and take the time off work and your window for error is so big,
well,
like, that's not worth it to us.
And the other side of things, the things that were ruined that we'd have to repurchase at that point, too, like we would need a new tent. I think we needed a new air mattress because that thing got soaked. And at that point, it's going to grow mold and everything.
Exactly.
It had a pump built. I think our pump actually sat in the water long enough. It got ruined. I mean, we had a significant amount of our camping gear destroyed in this trip. And so we would have to reinvest in more camping gear.
Right.
And then on top of that, it's never been ideal for my back situation. It's never been ideal for a sleep situation. And so we can just visit these places for the day and come home.
That's right.
And then life, of course, at that point kind of takes over a little bit. And this is all, we're in and out of different apartments. We're moving around. You're in your master's degree program. And it was one of those times, too, that we knew we weren't going to have an opportunity to camp again for a while.
Yeah.
And so we kind of said, if we decide to get back into this, we need to adjust how we look at it.
Sure.
And I think even at that point, I said, I don't care if it's a small RV, something with a little bit more amenities. We'll figure something else out if this is something we want to do. Quite frankly, we didn't have the time to go camping for the next handful of years anyway.
Right.
Because of school schedules, work, and all those things. And that's kind of our brief history with camping. It's... Everybody experiences affect your decisions.
They do.
Every single time. Ours affected it to the point of I'm not tent camping. I mean, I could be convinced to go on like a trip where I camped in a tent, but it would be a scenario like kind of like a Karen Nate style adventure video, but you'd have to convince me to do the thing too. So it's not just the tent camping you have to convince me to do.
Good for you. I won't be.
Okay.
That's where we stand now.
So fast forward to, were our time in the house and all the things Lauren said earlier about, we're not having all this time and finding out an RV, like that the KYDs of the world existed and people lived in these things and traveled around.
Right.
And so we kind of look at each other and we say, well, let's consider this. And and I will say, this is the preachy part. We pray. We definitely believe in God and decisions and those types of things. And everything is Christ-centered for us. And so for us, we kept saying that, doors will open and or close. Be aware of them opening and closing is our job. Mm-hmm. And so if a door closes, and so we said, well, let's go down this road of should we sell the house, which, by the way, was a great time to sell the house.
For us, it was. Mm-hmm.
From a financial perspective. And then also the whole, like, can we find an RV in our price range that we both like, all those things.
That's available, that's this and that. Yeah.
And so we, on a whim, flew to Tampa for the RV Super Show in 2021, two. One of them. And decided, yes, we found the RV. Couldn't find it in the price range we want. Actually found it back in Texas while on the phone in Tampa. Purchased our first RV. And at that point, we realized, oh, crap, we got to sell the house now, too.
And by the way, put a deposit down, sight unseen on this RV.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we had seen the floor plan. We just hadn't seen that physical RV. So did all of those things and began the full-time RV life journey.
We did, with the goal of, that our time would be better spent, right? Our energy would be better spent. And so we would get to dedicate towards the things that were more important to us.
But we had to come back and tell our families at some point, too, that we did all of this. Let's start with yours.
Okay, so in general, my family is very supportive.
They are.
We are a little less traditional in a lot of things. There are many Thanksgivings. We don't eat turkey. We eat Chinese food, Italian food, whatever it is.
Okay, hang on. They also don't... They do like a family reunion kind of thing the weekend prior to, or 2 weekends prior to Thanksgiving. So it's already non-traditional in the date. And so
it is. My family in general is very big. There's a lot of opinions. There's a lot of things, and I would call them less than traditional.
And they used to be more traditional. That stopped as it shrunk a little bit.
It did.
Because I remember it always used to be turkey. Your dad always used to do the spiral cut ham that he would baste all day.
Right.
It was very traditional at that point. And then as it kind of shrunk a little bit, we made it non-traditional, which is fine. Everybody got tired of turkey. You eat turkey 3 or 4 times in a matter of like 5 days, you get a little over it.
So my family, when we told them, I think that they were excited for us.
Confused.
I mean, a little confused, yes, but I do think that they were excited and they were supportive.
With many questions.
I love my family dearly, but one of their first questions was also, when are we collectively going to see and do things? So Ryan and I didn't know that we could live in the RV just ourselves and not kill each other. And my family would like to join us now.
Nope.
So that was
nope. Sorry,
they were so excited and so supportive that was actually a little bit of a hurdle, was trying to get us adjusted and then try to integrate how they wanted to help us.
Fast forward 2 years later, they still have not been with us on a camping trip in the RV.
But we rethought that and now have a room for mom and all the things.
Right.
But anyways, yes. So they were supportive. They had a lot of questions. They were excited for us and wanted to kind of go on the journey with us, I guess you could say.
They did.
Yeah.
Yep. And overall, they weren't a little confused in the first 15 minutes. And then they realized that after we told them more, like, oh, that's actually could be a fun decision.
It was. Yeah.
And then they kind of get behind it wholeheartedly. That's what your mom does.
Oh, absolutely.
Once she understands enough to get excited, she gets excited.
She does. Yeah.
And
she
so,
also tried to sell her house and buy an RV too.
Then she realized you have something called a black tank handle.
That's how excited she was. So I love them dearly, and they are enthusiastic.
Enthusiastic is one way to put it. My family.
This was the expected response.
So my family, my dad didn't make it through one night of camping. They're not camping people. They're not outdoors people.
No.
I've always been gravitated more towards it. But again, the opportunities to go do it were few and far between, because if your family doesn't do it and you're growing up, like you're not going to get a lot of opportunity to go do the thing that nobody else wants to do as a kid.
Yes.
So it's kind of like that thing of like, as a kid, you want to go to Disney. If your family hates it as a whole, you're not going to Disney.
Right.
Sorry, bud. Until you can pay for it yourself.
That's right.
And so I remember I had to warm them up to the idea
Yeah.
of like, hey, we may sell the house. Oh, really? What house are you going to get? We're not sure yet.
Yeah. And his dad's very logical, so the stability of us having a house to him makes sense.
And I think it's important to know, if you are thinking about getting into this lifestyle, this is a good opportunity to just mention that it's never a great financial decision to sell an appreciating asset for a depreciating asset.
Yes. So you have to understand your own financial situation very well.
We took so much crap in our video about selling our house.
Yep.
Because we started the videos when we thought about purchasing them in Tampa. Like the Tampa video was our first video of the relaunch of the channel. And we took you through that entire process, trips leading up to
Yeah.
the sale of the house, the things we experienced, our thoughts on selling the house, all of it. So if you want to go see it, go to Miller's in Motion, go to Miller's in Motion 2.0 playlist. It'll start you from that point
Right.
and go all the way through to now. But yeah, it was a different experience with my family. They are supportive in their own way, but they will also let you know that they don't agree with it.
They would never choose that, and they were worried that we did a little
Right.
bit.
And even to this day, I love my mom. My dad's just accepted it and kind of moved on, and it's kind of, but he looks at it as probably more like an is what it is situation. My mom, on the other hand, I think she's accepted it too, but she always asks, and this is where Lauren gets the meh from, is how's the RV? I know that's not a question about how's the RV.
Right.
It's a question of like, how are we in the RV?
She wants to know if it's broken yet. And
It's an RV, it's always broken. But it's always little stuff.
yeah.
And so it's my family was the more traditional, probably.
Yeah. And she always follows it with the question of how's the RV and are you still liking it?
Yep.
We're 2.5 years in, and that is always the series of questions.
Right. And so it's unique. And now with that all being said, they are not hounding us about anything. They're not mean about anything.
No.
They do grasp, like when we send them pictures and they see videos from the road, because my mom actually goes back and watches some of the videos now.
She does.
She doesn't care about like the RV how-to stuff because she doesn't care. But like the travel stuff she loves. And so they'll go back and watch it and she's like, oh, it looks like you're having so much fun. Like we are. It's why we wanted to do this.
Yes.
And so there's a little bit more of at least of an understanding at this point and an acceptance that it's happened.
And at the end of the day, both families really do want us to be happy, and they want us to be safe and, you know, have all the wonderful things in life. And so their intentions are all good.
So one of the big factors for us, because family is so important, that we knew when we got into the lifestyle that we wanted to use was being able to take your mom, little sister, whoever else. The first RV we thought we would be able to do that in.
Yeah.
And this is where selecting the right RV, not necessarily the first time, because I think everybody is going to go through multiple RVs.
Oh, for sure.
Assuming you like the idea of it and just don't like an aspect of it. Like, hey, I wish I had done this with the RV. Love everything about it when it's just us, but if we have somebody else here, this is really annoying. Which is kind of what happened to us.
Yeah.
And Julie, if you listen to these, which I don't think you do, but if you did, we love you.
Yes.
We're appreciative of you watching the horses for us.
This is my friend. He's referencing my friend Julie, that travels with us or not with us, but Julie and I travel together for horse shows.
Yep.
And so she's a very integral part of our lives.
Yes. And I could not imagine. I was very thankful that she was the first person to stay with us in an RV.
Me too.
So we still had the house. We went down to Gulfport, Mississippi for an RV show, or not an RV show, for a horse show in the RV.
In the RV.
Because of the length of drive, we decided to pair up with Julie. And Lauren and Julie took the horses. I took the RV. Julie stayed with us. And then Julie helped us out with the horses and all the other things. And so we
it's
kind
a
of
relationship that works well.
Yep, we split roles essentially. I would, if this was somebody that was slightly less tolerant, this would have been miserable.
This would have been terrible.
Luckily, Julie kind of just disappears. I don't know where she goes, but she disappears.
Julie rolls with the punches. I don't know how she does it.
And so in our previous rig, it was the Grand Design Solitude 390 RK. So we had the living room in the middle, kitchen in the back, elevated, and then bedroom up front. When it was just us, and I didn't have to be on a work call, it was great.
It was fantastic. Yeah,
I actually very much so love the rig. There are things I actually miss about that style of rig. And now that we work with Alliance, that'd be like a paradigm. There are things that I still wish that we had from that, but there are also things that I very much so like about this that offset the two things. So
absolutely.
it's just like a house. You're never going to have everything you want. So if you are considering to get into it, what are your 3 to 5 big things? And then everything else is like, I wish, but I'm okay without.
Right.
And I don't think you know that until you've been in one for a little bit. But her bed was essentially one of those 2 opposing couches that came into the living room. Well, 2 problems with that. One, the dogs love getting up on the couch.
They thought that was fantastic.
Yep, she got snuggle buddies. And then 2, between our bedroom and the kitchen where our coffee pot was in the morning was Julie.
Was now Julie sleeping?
And I am that person that I want people to be happy.
Of course.
And I feel bad
Right.
at 6 a.m. going, damn it, I want a cup of coffee. But Julie's asleep.
Well, and I think she also felt bad that if she needed to use the restroom, it was up the stairs by the bedroom.
But luckily, like our now has the two. Like we would hear it way more now
We would, yeah.
than we would prior.
But
to.
it was still just a paper thin wall between us.
right,
Yeah.
and so that happened. And so we kind of after that, and we couldn't have asked for a better scenario to learn that in because nobody got upset.
No.
Everybody understood. We hung out outside. Luckily, the weather was amazing.
Right.
So we were able to hang out outside a little bit. And quite frankly, we're at a horse show. So we went to dinner quite a bit. And then on top of that, you guys had a lot to go do.
Right.
And then Julie, being Julie, would literally remake her bed and put it away every day.
I tell you, everybody needs a Julie in their life.
Yep. Which if it wasn't for that, that's probably where I would at a breaking point because that's our living room too. And I couldn't get like we could only get to one couch, and that was clarified the dog couch, and it had like a waterproof like dog cover on it so that they could sleep up there during the day and look out the window.
Right.
And so that couch out, we couldn't use our other sofas and everything. So, but after that, we were like, okay, this is not a guest couch. This is
Correct.
We don't have guests anymore. Like
I know
emergency situations only.
I know it was marketed as a pull-out guest couch, kids, etc., but we learned that false advertising.
So as you're buying RVs, you know, like you have the how many you can have over for cocktails, dinner, and sleeping.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't care how many for cocktails until claustrophobia sets in. I don't even care how many for dinner, to be honest. We have enough spots to seat like 6 to 8 people. Sleeping is officially 2.
2. The end. Well, in
2
that
plus
rig.
2 dogs.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, fast forward to this rig where we have a whole separate room. We could we could only probably sleep 2 more in here now.
Yeah.
Just how it's set up. And that's probably enough.
Agreed.
Plus the dogs. The dogs actually take up more space than we realized they needed to be themselves. So
That is true.
So, with that being said, it's interesting because like my parents have no interest in going. They're also of the age where they wouldn't really like. My mom would have trouble with the stairs significantly.
Right.
My dad, this is not in his realm. He doesn't want to go on these things.
Nope.
He is very much so. I'll meet you there and be in a nice hotel.
We've been full-time living in an RV for 2.5 years now, and they have not seen any of the RVs that we've had.
You sure?
Yeah.
Have they? Oh, okay.
Nope.
Your family, on the other hand,
Oh yeah.
especially your mom and Amy, they come
They come.
regularly.
They would love. They'll play cornhole. They'll ride the e-bikes. They'll chill in here.
Well,
grill burgers.
Attempt to ride the e-bikes.
They got the hang of it.
Amy did quickly.
Mom got it.
Okay. So with all that, like what is in our future? Like, do our families want to come do more stuff? Do we have any things planned with them? I can tell you mine. No,
Nope. Short answer.
not
no.
in RV stuff. We do stuff with my family, but it's just not surrounding the RV.
Yes. My mom would love to come with us more. She would love to come on all of the adventures we will allow her to come on. Amy, I think, would like to come for some of it, but
She's a teenager for starters.
she's 18. She's going to do her own thing. I don't think that she is as keen on maybe those long travel days and some of the boring stuff. She wants to
No.
be there for the highlights a little bit.
She's also that person that crashes in the car.
Yeah.
And we still have logistical issues if they wanted to go on a trip because we have the dogs.
Right. Which
so,
means no
unfortunately,
guests in the back seat.
Our truck is off limits. Plus, on top of that, quite frankly, because we've added the solar system and we are pretty significantly heavy, we really can't take on any more weight.
Right.
Not that your mom and Amy, they actually might weigh the same as the dogs. But if the dogs are also in there,
Yeah.
quite frankly, like we literally have like 200 pounds of GVWR in the back of our truck left. That's it. We are at capacity. And so for them to come on a road trip with us, they would have to drive themselves
Yeah.
and follow us or fly and meet us wherever we're going. That's going to be situational on it.
Right.
Now, that being said, we have talked about doing like local camping trips where the drive is actually less than if they came to where we are currently. And so there's definitely that in our very near future.
There's
Because again, thanks to rvmattress.com from Brooklyn Bedding, save 20% off by using our link rvmattress.com/Millers in Motion. Shameless plug. Also, it's in the link in the video description down below. We have a really nice mattress back there for them now. And we are now officially set to where they can come and actually be comfortable.
They can. They actually have their own little bathroom set up, their own room. We can
Which
get to
also
our
needs to be
coffee.
finished.
We can keep the dogs off of their bed. This is
say,
much more functional.
I wouldn't actually feel bad if they were still asleep, coming and sitting in my normal spot, doing my normal morning routine, maybe with a little less volume on the TV because it is right by the door.
Yeah.
But outside of that, we're right there. So
Yep.
there's a lot of things that we would love to do with family. We'd love to take. And the hard part is with your mom is every time we go somewhere, she's like, I want to do that.
I know.
Like after we got back.
Right.
And so inherently, somehow we're going to end up redoing every trip we've done. The ones we think that she'll enjoy.
Of course.
Like I think they'd love Pitch and Forge.
I do too.
So we just need Amy to be okay with her boyfriend not coming. Sorry, Jack. With that, is there any other like tips or tricks for trying to tell your family that you're going full time if you're a little nervous about it?
I think that you have to make the decision that's right for you.
Right.
And so that's going to be your personal preferences, your financial situation, longevity moving forward. So you need to make that decision on your own and be confident in that, because there will always be naysayers. There will always be supporters, but these people aren't on that journey in the same way you are. So
Right.
do what's right for you.
Yep. And that's the important part. And when it comes to like, obviously the smaller the RV, the more they're going to question it. Like we get less of those questions because we essentially have a rolling mansion.
Right. We can tell them we bring our own internet, our own washer and dryer, our own everything. And they're like, oh, and then they see it and they're like, oh, this really is like a small house.
And with the solar system going on now, especially too, like if the power were to go out,
Right.
everybody else, like their houses lose power and we're like, we're fine.
We're fine. We have a better water filtration system now than we ever had at the house.
That's terrifying. But yeah. Thanks, Corbin at Blue.
Yes, there's another shameless plug. We love our blue water filtration system.
You can find all the products we use on our RV in the description down below.
that make it like a house to us, really.
And some scenarios better than a house.
Yeah.
Because I know in our last house, if we wanted to go somewhere, we had to pack things.
Right. We had to board the dogs. We had to pack the things. It was a lot.
I was going to say, we had to board the dogs for the first time in almost 2 years for the cruise we just got back from not long ago.
And that made my heart hurt.
It did. And it was harder than I realized doing it without them.
Yeah.
Still going to do it again because it's still fun. But it is nice being able to take literally your entire little family. Lauren and I don't have kids. These are our little fuzzy kids. And so getting them to come with us and getting them to experience some of these things, like even going to Fort Wilderness at Disney for the day.
Yeah.
And or some of like the RV rallies and things we do, they love
They
getting
do.
to see people.
They love it. Yeah.
And so sometimes it's hard for them to get out and see people like at the Super Show because we're working. But there's always like moments where you would go get them and bring them up for like an hour or so. And then it would get too crowded and they get a little overwhelmed and we have to take them back kind of a situation. So, but if you are thinking about getting into it, just know, do your research, make the best decision for you, not only financially, but emotionally.
That's right.
All of the things.
All of the things.
And if your family loves you, they will accept it.
They will. And don't rush. Don't rush your situation.
Nope. Absolutely not. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any tips for everybody out there about telling your family or how they reacted, or you just want to share a story,
Or stories.
by all means, let us know. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast platform, you can actually send us a text message. There's a link at the top of all the show notes. And if you're watching this on YouTube, hi, you can see me. You can leave a comment down below. Oi, we got to go to Florida.
All right, let's go. Bye.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for listening. We're going to Florida. Bye.